Stately, Robert Lilligren, and more, because Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
Pete Schwaba on the next Nightlight.
Good morning, Civic Media Mornings. We will go live in 15 seconds.
6:06 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We always appreciate it. Bright and early. We've made it halfway through another week. We just have to hang in there a couple more days for the weekend. We can do this. My name is Jamie Martinson.
Good morning. I'm Brian Nuno. We're glad you're here. Yeah, we'll see if we can make it because we know, even though it's Wednesday, there's so much more that's going to come out this week, and we're going to cover it all. We're glad you're here. A lot to talk about today. But the big news to start off with is, and we've touched on this, we touched on it yesterday, we touched on it before, the Clintons have agreed to appear for depositions in the Epstein probe. This means there will be no contempt vote holding them in contempt. They've set dates. Jamie, this is big news. And
it is.
The Clintons, even though Bill Clinton has not been accused of any wrongdoing, he was in some pictures with Jeffrey Epstein, and
so is the president.
So is the president. So are a lot of people, and
saying.
This is right. And I'm going to, this is another. Sometimes arguments can be simplistic because that's the way a lot of people understand it. Right. There have been a lot of defenders of keeping the Epstein files closed, going, well, Bill Clinton was in there, Democrats. What are you going to do? I'll tell you what we do. If he's proven guilty of anything, we put him in jail. That's what we do.
Absolutely.
So yeah, when are they going to speak to Congress?
Yes. So the Hillary Clinton will they're both testifying, by the way, which I also find fascinating. I feel like why does Hillary need to be there? I don't
Benghazi.
understand.
We're gonna rehash Benghazi.
She had that email server too. So
I'm
sure there's still questions. I'm sure there's still lingering questions that these Republicans have about
I also
that email
heard
server.
she has Hunter Biden's laptop.
This is right. I'm sure that she's got that hidden somewhere. Probably right next to her email server, I would assume. Keep all the electronics together.
In the basement of a pizzeria. It's all there in crates.
I would like to say that we're just like riffing and making these things up off the top of our heads, but no, these are actual stories that circulated for a really long time, and there's still people
And let's not put it past Congress to go, or the administration to go back in time. Take a look at Georgia, folks. It's not 2020 anymore, but we're still recounting an election for the umpteenth time.
It's a little insane right now. But Chairman James Comer says that Hillary Clinton will testify on February 26th. Bill Clinton will testify on February 27th. Comer says that this agreement is a win for transparency and accountability after months of back and forth that included threats of contempt votes in the House. What I would say is that this is a win for transparency and accountability if all of the other people, the president, Howard Lutnick, maybe Elon Musk, were all also trotted out and given the same treatment and also made to testify and have the same basically process given to them that the Clintons have.
Yeah, again, that was going to be my question. Is it transparent if only one person who's named in the files or has pictures in there, and another person who really has nothing to do with it at all have to come in and testify, and nobody else does? That is not transparency. That is political targeting.
It is political targeting. There is still disagreements over how these depositions will actually be handled. Republicans say the testimony will take place behind closed doors as standard committee depositions. The Clintons team, meanwhile, insists that this testimony should be public and says that they're fine with the cameras rolling. Let's listen to cut one. This was James Comer, what he had to say yesterday.
Look, it could set a precedent. I think, one of the things that we're talking about today, the video, the deposition will be videoed. That was never a thing until the Democrats set a precedent to video the January 6th deposition. So now there's a precedent to do videos. This isn't about helping President Trump. This isn't about protecting President Trump. This is about doing two things, what we've said all along: getting the truth to the American people about what happened, with the whole Epstein saga? And secondly, how did the government fail the victims? That's the purpose of the whole investigation, and it's bipartisan. And hopefully, the Clintons will hopefully have some information that'll be helpful to us getting answers.
Point of order, sir. First of all, it's precedent and setting precedents. Learn the words, very simple. A couple letters. I know it sounds petty, but it is. And also, what? What do you mean we're getting to the bottom of this investigation? You're bringing in one person who hasn't been accused of anything, who is begging you to do this in public. Begging you. And you are saying no. So it is obviously about protecting someone.
It is.
I don't know who.
And what's interesting is the subpoenas themselves. You heard Comer mention these video recorded depositions when he was talking there. The subpoenas themselves explicitly allow for those video recorded depositions, even though House rules don't require them to be open hearings.
Yeah.
Location right now is also unresolved, with the Clintons pushing for New York City rather than Washington. I mean, that's where they live. They're a little bit older. They probably feel like they're doing the Republicans a favor by actually showing up, right? And they just want this. I'm going to assume that this is one of those cases where Bill and Hillary were sitting around looking at each other and like, oh, here we go again. They're still not done with us, right? So let's just get this over with. Because you got to think at some point that's their attitude after all of the years of the GOP bringing them in or trying to embroil them in scandals that were maybe not scandals. So I
wish the GOP would look more toward the future and less toward the past, because they live in an era of blame the past instead of let's move toward the future and let's listen to our constituents and do what's best for the country. No, we have to find a scapegoat for everything that we have done wrong in our administrations, and it's tiring. It's just take some responsibility on your own.
It's exhausting.
Just stop.
Now, we will point out once again that neither Bill nor Hillary Clinton have been accused of wrongdoing related to Epstein. Nobody has so far with the recent release of these files. Both deny any knowledge of the crimes, and I think it's important to mention that no Epstein survivor has publicly alleged misconduct by either of them.
Right.
And I can honestly say when you listen to the testimony and listen to some of the survivors speak, that's not necessarily true of other people who are mentioned in these files. So I think that's an important caveat to remember as we watch these hearings or these testimonies, whatever we're going to call them at this point, proceed, because I think that's a very important point for everybody to remember going forward.
Now, we talked about Comer saying that this was good for transparency, which it obviously is not. Again, I know I was a grammar Nazi with him, but I also think he doesn't quite understand the word transparency. So a lot of people get to higher echelons of government without really having a basic grasp of the English language, which is terrifying. But the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee is actually pushing for this and saying, yes, public hearings and letting the Clintons do this in open court basically is good for the American people. And I think that's true. We see a good chunk of the American people, even when the January 6th hearings were televised, still didn't believe them, still thought it was all a witch hunt or a hoax or whatever adjective you want to put on it. So yes, I think it's good. It's always good to watch the people testify, because then you're not getting a spin from either their people, news people, anything. It's here. We watch the officials, ask them a question. They answered it. Now you've heard it. You decide what you think.
And this is starting to feel really familiar with this GOP, right? And we've kind of seen this play out before, where they want testimony in private and then they selectively release only what they want after the Republican majority has time to really frame it, spin it, decide what narrative best serves them at this particular time. And we actually saw that play out just a few weeks ago with Jack Smith and his testimony, right? So this is the same movie. It's like Groundhog Day. We've seen it before. The real question to me right now is it really whether or not the Clintons have something to hide? To me, it's why Chairman Comer would want to hide this. So if Republicans truly believe that the Clintons are guilty of something, Why not put it out there in real time and then let everybody in the public judge for themselves? Why are we trying to keep it behind closed doors and not make this a public proceeding?
Well,
That's
it's
my
the same question you could have with the Epstein files. Other than redacting the victims' names and anything that identifies the victims, why so much redaction? That's their game plan, and this is just another form of redaction, keeping everything behind closed doors. It doesn't. Most people who watch TV and movies, they see these legal things. And we all think, well, if you've got nothing to hide, why don't you just testify? Now, in court, and I've talked to attorneys about this, they say, well, that's not always the best way if you're on trial for, like, if you're on trial for murder, Jamie, they don't want you testifying. Right. So just keep that in mind down the road. But
I will.
Thank
Good
you.
note. I'll make that.
Listen,
I'll put that down
again,
now.
I'm not an attorney, so my advice is worth exactly what you paid for it. But if you're not hiding something, if you truly want to be transparent, you need to release everything. You need to let people hear the testimony, because this isn't going away just on the Democratic side. No. This is not going away ever. Yeah. And if it turns out that all of these allegations are founded and you've been covering this up, you're going down too.
Yeah, no, and they should. I mean, that's just it. Even if they're idols, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum they're on. If it embroils celebrities, whatever it is, if you are guilty of these crimes, you need to be prosecuted. Yeah. And really what's happening right now with the Republicans, the lack of transparency isn't surprising. To me, it's actually more telling, because they don't want truth. They don't actually want oversight about this. All they want is the control. They want to control the timing. They want to control the messaging. They want to control the headlines. And this is a tale as old as time with this particular party. Yeah. We could go all the way back to the Benghazi trials if we wanted to with Hillary Clinton to see the same story play out over and over. This is nothing new. It's this type of sham proceedings that we see over and over from the GOP in Washington, unfortunately.
And if we go back even farther, you go back to like Watergate, and then you look at the role the press had in uncovering this and really digging in and questioning authority and holding people's feet to the fire. And that has changed, which leads us into what you're going to be what we've got on tap after the break, because we see from the president belittling Caitlin Collins repeatedly in the Oval Office and no other journalists standing up. We do see some good reporting, some investigative reporting, but with the amalgamation of ownership in the press and everybody, you've got
journalism.
There isn't
independent journalists. I love them. They're
and
awesome.
They're not. And yes, they are awesome, and we need them. And yet we're not seeing too much of that anymore.
We're not. And no, you're right. We have a really important guest who's going to join us in just a few moments. His name is Seth Stern, and he is from the Freedom of Press Foundation. Because obviously, as we talk about independent journalism and we talk about these hearings, these public records become more and more important, especially right now. And so Seth is going to discuss with us a little bit about Don Lemon and the arrest and what this particularly means for journalism going forward, because you're right. Journalism right now, I've been in journalism a long time, Brian.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of friends who have been in journalists for a long time. I've been in newsrooms, and this is not like anything I've ever witnessed or grew up in. And it's a little mind-boggling to me with the lack of pushback. And I don't know if you know, but female reporters are now supposed to smile. That's what the president told them yesterday.
I think that's good advice all the time. Ladies, come on, smile a little bit. Don't be so tough. Yeah,
where are our manners?
Why with the questions?
It's 6:19 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Seth Stern after this on the Civic Media Radio Network.
WMDX. Less noise, more nuance.
Trivia Mondays, Wing Wednesdays at the Lazy Oaf Lounge. Put that big brain to work Monday night for America's Pub Quiz. Enter and win prizes like Lazy Oaf gift cards. And Wednesdays are for chicken wings. Enjoy 90-cent wings till 8:30 when you eat in, plus specials on beer and White Claw buckets, and hang around for music bingo at 6 p.m. It's the Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road. Go to lazyoaflounge.com.
Every hero needs a place to gather. Guild Pack Games in Stoughton is built by players for players. Warhammer, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, One Piece, Dungeons & Dragons. Build friendships, build your deck, build your legend. Guild Pack Games, made by gamers for gamers.
There was a time when barbecue was perfect. A strong, reliable flavor that could be counted on. But then big manufacturers decided that barbecue needed to be zesty or spicy or sweeter or whatever. If you miss the good old days of great tasting barbecue, we'd like to introduce you to Grandpa's Barbecue. Made in small batches from Grandpa's original recipe. Buy yours online today at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
Join me, Tom Hartman, each and every weekday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the Tom Hartman program right here on Civic Media. I talk about the issues that all Wisconsinites can get behind, from unrigging our economy so it works for all of us, not just the billionaire class, to improving our representative government, to delivering on the promise of we the people. Tune in middays right here on your local Civic Media station from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the Tom Hartman program. Tag You're It.
A fresh perspective on the great outdoors.
What's up, everybody? My name is Joel Clayfish, and this show is all about the great outdoors of the great Midwest. I have the joy of steering the ship across every lake in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Iowa, and Illinois. This is Raised in the Woods.
Raised in the Woods with Joel Clayfish and Ellie Lawton. Find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Farm news that impacts
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. My name is Jamie Martinson, and over the last few months, I'll say months because this Trump administration has taken their anger and their aggression out on the press. And we've seen that happen in multiple ways, from different things that they have said, and most recently to the arrest of Don Lemon for being in a church during a protest. And we wanted to answer some of the questions surrounding that arrest and what that could possibly mean for journalism in this country. Because, as we all know, journalists are protected under the First Amendment. We've got just the guy to explain some of this to us this morning. His name is Seth Stern. He is the Chief of Advocacy for the Freedom of the Press Foundation. And at one point in time, he also worked as a media and First Amendment lawyer. So, Seth, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be here.
So we want to clear up some of these misconceptions, and maybe from a legal standpoint, you can tell us what actually happened with this Don Lemon case. What immediately stands out to you, first and foremost, about the arrest of Don Lemon for being in a church? Is that essentially, first of all, let me ask, is that essentially what it was? Was he in a church just being a journalist? He wasn't even protesting. So what stands out at that point to you?
Right. He followed protesters into a church. He was not one of the protesters. He was there to document a protest that clearly is newsworthy. The reason that the protest targeted that church is that the pastor there was a higher up in ICE. We're talking about Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. There's every reason why a higher up in ICE would be the subject of protest in Minneapolis. But what really jumped out to me about this is the fact that they pursued Lemon and also Georgia Ford, another independent mm-hmm. journalist who was arrested. More recently, it sounds like Lemon's producer might have also been arrested. They pursued them not only by applying with one judge and then appealing after that judge declined to authorize the arrest, but seeking a grand jury indictment a week later. You know, normally when you see journalists arrested covering protests, it's a situation where there's a chaotic scene. Tempers are high. Journalists are sort of looped in with protesters when cops are arresting everyone. They're accused of trespassing or obstruction or some relatively petty state level misdemeanor. Oftentimes they are released without being booked, or if they are charged, the charges are pretty quickly dropped. Because prosecutors wise up, cooler heads prevail. Everyone realizes it is not in the public's interest for us to spend our time and taxpayer money prosecuting journalists. It will have a chilling effect on journalism if journalists believe that they're going to get arrested for doing their jobs, even if we could technically fit their conduct into some element of with the elements of a recognized offense, trespass or whatever it may be. Here you've got a situation where it's sort of inverted. Instead of looking for reasons not to prosecute journalists, only doing so as a last resort because of the importance of news gathering to our democracy, you've got an administration that is looking for any kind of gotcha claim it can find to go after journalists. You know, someone is burning the midnight oil, figuring out that this law exists that makes it a federal offense to interfere with a religious observance. Now, under that law, nothing Lemon did would constitute a violation. One, the law requires intent. Lemon's criminal intent. Lemon's only intent was to document news, and Georgia Fort's only intent was to document news. The kind of interference that it contemplates, physical obstruction, threats of harm, threats of physical harm, things that nobody on the scene did.
Yeah. And we're talking with Seth Stern. He's the chief of advocacy for the Freedom of the Press Foundation. And you mentioned the chilling effects that this will have on journalists. How does this change? I've worked in journalism. I've worked in a newsroom. How does this change how journalists will start approaching major news stories, especially the real time on the ground, if they think that this is a ramification of doing their job?
Right. Well, of course, the prospect of getting arrested at some level, no matter how courageous and bold someone is as a journalist, having that in the back of your head is going to impact your decision making. It will have different impacts for different people. I can't predict across the board how it will affect all journalists, but just like Trump's SLAPP suits, strategic lawsuits against public participation, that's a legal acronym, his frivolous lawsuits that he files in retaliation for journalism he doesn't like, it has an impact. It makes people be a little bit more careful. It makes them think twice. I don't think that journalism is just going to roll over and die, but it is going to have some incremental impact. And I would encourage journalists who have the impulse to self-censor to remember that this is not your traditional Department of Justice that only brings really solid cases and has a 90-something% conviction rate. These guys bring a bunch of bogus cases and lose all the time, because they're not looking to bring meritorious prosecutions. They're looking to make headlines and intimidate people.
We have just about a minute or so left. And I guess to wrap up today, I would ask the question, what should we as the public be doing to demand more, I guess, from this administration? Because we need fair news. We need to see that play out. So what should we be demanding right now from this administration to make sure these things don't continue to happen?
Well, we've seen that public pressure does work. We saw what happened in Minneapolis. We saw what happened with the Jimmy Kimmel cancellation. And these unfortunately, people do tend to react more so to these moments when there is a recognized name, a Jimmy Kimmel or a Don Lemon involved, than they do to the day-to-day harassment of independent journalists or just sort of corporations that offend Trump. So I think we need to use this moment as a tipping point and speak out and be vocal and let the administration know, despite the struggles of the news industry, the American public still cares about its right to information.
We're going to have to wrap it up right there, Seth. Thank you so much. Seth Stern, the Chief of Advocacy for the Freedom of the Press Foundation. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings.
To hot takes.
This report brought to you by Downtrends Distilling, making fun-flavored spirits with local produce. Attend a tasting. Book today at downtrends.com.
There's been a lot of attention on U.S. soybeans and the impact that tariffs have had taking away markets. But there is one soybean area that's much brighter. I'm Pam Yankee, starting you off before the opening bell on a Wednesday morning. Quick look at what's happening in agribusiness news influencing your markets. How about food-grade soybeans? That industry is doing real well. That's according to Scott Sinner, Vice President of Supply Chain for SB&B Foods. China is one of their big markets, and he says the tariffs that make the news are not tariffs that impact food-grade beans.
You know, the China market and all the things that are happening in that marketplace doesn't necessarily affect us directly. It certainly has indirect impacts on basis and things like that. But overall, you know, our top markets of, you know, Japan and Taiwan and Thailand and the U.S. and Vietnam and Malaysia and Philippines. I mean, those guys, you know, while we're doing all these trade agreements with these companies or these countries recognize that they need these soybeans for food, and they're not going to mess with that.
And that's a key, according to Scott Sinner, Vice President of Supply Chain Management for SB&B Foods. He said food-grade soybeans have avoided tariffs because they are considered staple food products in many Asian diets. Markets are next.
Innovation, that's BioVet.
We know you work hard every day to keep your livestock healthy and run an efficient operation because there's no such thing as a snow day. Take time this winter and consider BioVet, your trusted partner in helping you raise stronger, healthier animals and to protect your bottom line. The knowledge and support from our team can help you make the difference in keeping your livestock healthy. Call 1-800-BioVet1 or visit bio-vet.com.
Innovation, that's BioVet.
Did you know you can leverage crop insurance to benefit your bottom line? Ag Country Farm Credit Services can help. Choosing the right coverage for your goals can help maximize margins, strengthen your marketing strategy, and build a more resilient operation overall. As you plan for the season ahead, focus on more than just managing risk. Call 800-450-9858 to speak with one of our dedicated crop insurance officers. This institution is an equal opportunity provider and employer.
On Tuesday, barrel cheese gained 2 to 141. 40-pound block cheese also up 2 at 140.5, while double A butter stood still. The March Class 3 milk that goes into cheese this morning up 3 at 16.51. Currently, March corn's down 2 at 4.27. December down a penny at 4.55. March beans are down 4 at 10.61. November new crop down 3, 10.76. March wheat's down 3 at 5.26. July new crop down 3. Currently at $5.46 a bushel. There's your market snapshot on a Wednesday morning. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Pam Yankee.
This report brought to you by Sugar River Pizza, your catering expert. Host your party in their gorgeous Sun Prairie location or a venue of your choice. SugarRiverPizza.com.
It is going to be a sunny one today with a high right around 25 this afternoon. Tonight, mostly cloudy. We're going to drop to around 11 for an overnight low. Tomorrow, we start to warm things up. Mostly cloudy. We may catch a few flurries at some point with a high in the mid-30s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 2 below zero.
Listen to the Civic Media exclusive podcast, Busted Pencils.
Time to get your learning on. There's no shortage of things to be learning about what's going across all of the cities right now with ICE protests or people in support of immigration enforcement. The push for public school reform, here's an opportunity to craft a very pro-public school, democracy matters platform.
Subscribe to Busted Pencils wherever you listen to podcasts.
Would you like to contact Congress and let them know your views about issues that are important to you? Leave a message for your U.S. representative or your senator by calling the Capitol Switchboard at 202-224-3121. Phone lines are open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Standard phone rates may apply. To send an email, go to senate.gov or house.gov for more information. A public service message from the
15 seconds till live.
6:35 right now. We hope you are having a great start to your morning. And if you are listening in Oshkosh or Appleton on WISS, thank you for having us on, or maybe even in Richland Center on WRCE. We're also glad that you are joining the program this morning. Remember, if you have comments or, you'd just like to chat this morning, say hi. 1-855-752.
Small talk would be welcome.
That's right. 4842 1-855-75-CIVIC. I am Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. And we have many other stories to tell. So if you just want to chit chat, the Boy Aquarium won't put you through, but just know we would welcome it. But the Boy Aquarium is very strict about they're gatekeepers. Truly,
not true.
They are stifling the free speech of the
All right, it's
100%.
You do your jobs well, and we appreciate it.
Yes, you do your job, so we can
We
look.
don't have to.
We can look lovely, yes, and we don't have to. We can be. Oh well, we would talk to you, but it's.
It's fine. The Boy Aquarium said no today.
Boy Aquarium said no.
I thought this was an interesting text, and I want to point this out. It came across on our Facebook page this morning. Roger, listening to the stream via Facebook, says that now Trump is demanding $1 billion from Harvard University, punishing the school for tolerating anti-Jewish bias on campus. Admission to his Board of Peace, $1 billion. Demand for Mar-a-Lago search, $1 billion. Demand from University of California over UCLA protests, $1 billion. Is there a pattern here, says Robert? Or says
IRS
Roger, I'm sorry.
suing the IRS for?
Yes,
$1 billion. $1 billion.
Yes. And it's interesting because there was just some big news out last week that through this first year of his presidency, he has benefited by $4 billion with a B, folks, from being president of the United States.
A lot of
but
that
they're
from
supposed to divest. Just saying.
Right, but he says, "Oh, well, it's all in trust. My children run those companies." Really?
Sure.
Yeah, a lot of it came from the crypto.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say scam. The crypto business that foreign entities are buying into.
Is a scam. Let's be real.
Well,
anytime I don't get it, it's probably a little bit of on the scam side.
When his name is tacked to the front of it, universities are not a scam, but his was. Omaha Steak is not a scam. They have fantastic meat. Trump scam. Water, scam. Casino, Trump casinos, scams.
Scam, yeah. I like a good bottled water every now and then.
Do you? I'm a tap guy. I'm not Jamie, I'm not one of those highfalutin.
The finer things.
No.
Just common folk kind of thing.
I have a comment. I like to present as a man of the people, while in fact, I am a man that likes to be separate from the people.
I also understand that.
It's all public image, which I just blew up. All right. Now, you remember just a couple of years ago, and by a couple of years ago, I mean last year, the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, and Elon Musk pumping in untold millions, it was told, but it was a lot. And he thought he would buy the race, that there would be a Republican elected to the Supreme Court. That did not happen. Well, guess what? There's another Supreme Court race, and the money is pouring in again. Not to the extent yet of the last one, but man, man, Wisconsin is one of the few places that I've lived that I remember Supreme Court races getting this much press and this much money flying into them.
It's actually unbelievable. And you mentioned Elon Musk. Just to remind everybody how expensive that race was. The most expensive race basically in history. Just over $100 million to as high as $144 million. And that wasn't just the Republican candidates. That also was in support of Judge Susan Crawford. Susan Crawford spent over $40 million on her race. And Brad Schimmel, if you remember Brad being in that race, he was supported by nearly $50 million. And then there was an additional $30 million that went toward petition efforts that were tied to the race. Much of that was affiliated with groups, that kind of associated and had Elon Musk's name attached. But we don't talk about those things. But you're right. The money here in Wisconsin is starting to come in at a pretty rapid pace, I should say. And it turns out that Judge Chris Taylor is vastly outraising Maria Lazar at this particular point. In fact, Judge Taylor has already raised more than $2.5 million, about 10 times what conservative Judge Maria Lazar has brought in so far. And in Wisconsin, even if you're a money out of politics person, which I am, because I think it's unfair for both sides to have that kind of spending
Right.
advantage. But and who wants their elections bought? Let's be real. But the advantage
Everybody,
matters
obviously.
because it is
Especially judges. That's the one.
Right.
Like, come on.
Right. These are supposed to be fair, impartial people, and we're
Right.
buying their elections. It's crazy. But in a state where recent spring elections have reshaped the courts, liberals already have a 4-3 majority. If Taylor wins, obviously that would be their 4th straight Supreme Court victory in just a few years. The contrast in support, though, right now is pretty stark, Brian, because Taylor's campaign is powered by thousands of small dollar donors. In fact, their camp is reporting that they have about 11,000 small dollar donors, which are making up about 80% of Chris Taylor's coffers right now, which
Wow.
is that is pretty substantial when you think about it. And is this Wisconsin saying, get out of our politics? Like, if Elon Musk can donate, we can too, even
Right.
if it's only a couple bucks at a time? I think it's fascinating.
And it is fascinating, and it does all add up, and that truly is a voice of the people. That's not we bought this election. That is the citizens of Wisconsin are saying this is the person we want to back. Yes, we can only send in $25 or $50 or $100, but this is who we want.
Yeah. And Lazar is reporting that just 25 donors, about 25 donors giving $100 or less, which accounts for about 22% of her current donor base. Now, Taylor has raised more overall money from Wisconsin donors than Lazar, despite also drawing some national support. Taylor also uses consultants at a much lower rate, though, than Lazar is. Lazar's campaign is very consultant driven. About 90% of her expenditures are currently going to consultants. For Chris Taylor, it's only about 28% of her money going towards consultants. So it's kind of like when you try to be a real human being with actual principles, you don't need people to polish you up quite so much.
Listen.
I'm just pointing out some things this morning. It's fine. It's fine.
Listen, my brother worked in politics for years and years. He ran big statewide campaigns. I saw the inside of campaigns. It is nasty business. It's not how you want the government to run. It's not how you want the people who are going to represent you to be elected. But that's what we have. Yes, taking money out of it would change it. If you look at just these two cases that you're citing here, you can outraise, if you're a good candidate, you can outraise your opponent just with regular folks. You know, you don't need so much, and maybe you do. Maybe I'm naive. All this money for a Supreme Court race on television and radio ads and all this stuff and consultants. It's like, just be a good candidate.
Right.
Tell people who you are. And I know that sounds very Pollyanna, but it's in the end, isn't that what we want? Because there's a race for Cook County president going on now. I know one of the candidates. I know the commercials against them are lies.
Right.
But it's, that's where all this money gets spent on all this negative campaigning.
Yes. And what I think is interesting is, we want to point out one side or the other doing it. And that's not true at all. Both sides are investing way too much in their politics and using
100%.
outside donors. This is not just a Democratic thing. This is not just a Republican thing. It's happening on both sides. And I find it interesting because money in politics, we can have this big debate, but it's really how we got to where we are right now, right? By
Yes.
having too many big level donors. And too often it feels like our representatives are being chosen by the wealthy and not by the people they're supposed to represent, which is why I am fascinated and also enlightened to see that most of Chris Taylor's funding is coming from regular people who might actually want to see her make a decision for their best interest on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And that gives me hope, honestly. It really does, because it means that people are paying attention to what's happening around them. And they are also putting their foot down on big money in being involved in politics, and also saying, we don't want you to be involved in who we choose is our representation. They
Well,
want
that's
to
why-
choose it themselves.
That's why I was so buoyed by the last Supreme Court election. Wisconsin said, listen, we don't want outside people coming in with all your big money and trying to buy us. We are not for sale. We will vote for who we want to vote for.
Right.
Your outside money isn't going to work. That's one place you could start the limits. If you don't do business in a state, you don't get to be part of giving money to a statewide election. You know, if you're a multinational company and you have a big headquarters in that state, okay, you can get involved because you are invested in the community. But other than that, keep your mitts off.
Right. And what I also appreciate about Chris Taylor's campaign right now is polling this much grassroots support. This is a talking point for Democrats a lot. You know, we want money out of politics, but yet they go through and they have big money donors. So I often think that it's little hypocrisy involved because that's what happens in politics. But in this particular case, with what Chris Taylor is doing, and obviously there's going to be more numbers that are going to come out, and she's probably going to have some bigger number donors, some big name donors. I get that. But at least right this very moment, the Democrats tend to be practicing what they're preaching. And what they're saying, and they're actually doing the grassroots donors. And I know there's been other candidates across the country that have relied on those grassroots donors, but at the end of the day, when you're in a really competitive race, they also have to rely on big money that they get from the Democratic Party or whatever it happens to be, right? And because you have to be viable in those races when you're competing as well, especially if you want the seats. And we know that this is going to be a really competitive midterm. You know, and
So buckle up until April 7th because you are going to be pounded with TV and radio ads. And listen, we, as a media company, we don't mind, election season just for the influx of. Yeah, we'll sell those commercials to whoever We have to sell them to both sides. That's the law. So just get ready to go. Why are we always hearing ads for blah 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 blah? Well, because that's the law. But other than if you're a regular voter, you don't want to hear all these ads.
No.
You know who you're going to vote for.
Right.
You know why you're going to vote for them, and it doesn't matter how much money gets spent. And that is evident, especially here in Wisconsin, where we've already said, nah, your money doesn't buy our elections.
No, elections should always be about the voters. They shouldn't be about bankrolls. And the more that idea can be normalized going forward, the healthier the democracy is going to be. And boy, oh boy, do we know that this is not a healthy democracy right now. So
now who's being Pollyanna about how elections should be? I'm not the only one with pie in the sky dreams.
I'll always have pie in the sky dreams when it comes to the Constitution because, oh, by the way, it still exists and we still need to follow it to some extent.
Well, the president believes it. However, there's no however after I believe in the Constitution. That's it. It's the Constitution.
It's the Constitution.
No
it's
however.
A law. It's been there for a really long time, and perhaps you should study the history. That would certainly help. But I think this Supreme Court race is going to be interesting, to say the least.
It will.
And we'll talk more about it. Maybe a drinking game here on the morning show for all the ads. We'll see it in here at some point.
I'm down for that. Sure.
We will be so drunk by 8 o'clock.
We would. 6:48 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
When we come back, how much technology are you willing to have in your home? Oh, we'll talk about why I asked it on the Civic Media Radio Network.
From campus protests to Capitol politics, if it happens on the Isthmus, you'll hear it here. 92.7 WMDX. Real news and great conversation.
Allure Intimate Apparel redefines what it means to feel confident, celebrating every woman, every shape, and every size. Their expert bra fit specialists offer a refined, pressure-free experience designed for comfort, beauty, and ease. Bra, sleepwear, swim, and lingerie, Allure has it all. With a personalized touch and a commitment to service, Allure helps you feel supported every single day. Visit Allure's new location in the Hilldale Shopping Center, where bra fittings are their focus. Visit AllureFits.com. That's AllureFits.com.
At Chance Design Build, we provide remodeling done well with love. Our commitments extend beyond our workplace and your home to support our community. We judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, and we believe all humans deserve quality, publicly funded education, childcare, and health care. But what do you believe in? At Chance Design Build, we believe every person must have the opportunity to thrive. If you're thinking about remodeling your home, go to chancedesignbuild.com to learn more about our commitments to you, your home, and our community.
Hey there, Wisconsin. Tom Hartman here. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so join me each and every weekday right here on Civic Media for the Tom Hartman program from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Covering the news of the day and sharing ways for you to get off the sidelines and get active in your community, because change starts with you. Get involved and tune in to the Tom Hartman program Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here on your local Civic Media radio station.
You wanted to be cool, which led you to smoking, which led to a pack a day. Then you met that special someone, which led to starting a life with them, which led to wanting to live longer, which led to quitting. Then you heard you may be at risk for lung cancer, which led you to getting a low-dose CT scan. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Is getting vaccinated on your to-do list? We can help you check that off.
You've got this.
Yes, you do. See how we've got you at yougotthis.usaging.org. A message from the Aging and Disability Vaccination Collaborative, powered by U.S. Aging.
Parallel parking in Madison? Impossible. Finding real conversation on the radio? Probable. With 92.7 WMDX.
Is there an issue that's important to you? Would you like the President of the United States to know how you feel? Why not call the White House comment line? The number is 202-456-1111. The White House comment line is open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Standard phone rates may apply. You may also send an e-message to the President at whitehouse.gov/contact.
All right, going live in 10 seconds.
It's 6:52 right now. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the Civic Media Radio Network. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. The question for you, I do too. How much technology are you willing to have in your home? 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. The reason I'm asking this, we've been inundated, and I am not a Luddite. I enjoy technology to a point. I do not want any technology in my house, he says, knowing that his phone is listening, his TV is listening, the doorbell is probably listening, everything is listening. I don't necessarily want to make the conscious decision to bring things into my house that are listening.
Right.
But other people do. There is a new robot. Would you want a robot in your house, Jamie?
No, I don't even have an Alexa in my house for various reasons.
All right, good, because I don't either. What are your various reasons?
My various reasons are just what you stated. Everything's always listening. I don't need it to tell me things when I'm not asking it, and I find them a little creepy with these voices that just come out of nowhere. I also have been in homes where Alexa is used, and I don't always find Alexa to be all that helpful.
No.
I really don't. I can find the answer myself, or I can look it up, or I can use my own hands or my own fingers or whatever it is to do something myself to find things. I don't need Alexa to do things for me.
Yeah, I agree. If I want to play Spotify through my sound bar, it's much easier for me to just open up my Spotify and put on the playlist, and that's it, instead of having Alexa make a mistake, and then I got to... I already have human beings that I have to correct.
Right.
I don't want to correct a machine. And listen, yes, the boy aquarium's laughing. It starts with you two. I already have enough human beings that I have to try to keep in line.
Yes, corralling. It's corralling.
It is corralling. I don't need to corral robots and listening devices. And there's just something, it's still
it's intrusive.
It's intrusive and it's creepy. And
Yes.
I understand, I'm still amazed when Debbie and I will be having a conversation and then I open Instagram and it's all ads for the same thing. It's like,
Right.
wait a minute.
Right.
Or, and there's nothing that I'm not making plans to overthrow the government or to commit heinous
nefarious. It
crimes
just
in
feels
my house.
intrusive.
Right. I just don't want you listening to me all the time.
I already have nosy neighbors. I don't need something living in my house, right?
And
I mean,
I'm already tracked by my iPass and my phone.
Right.
But I choose not to. But I gotta say, a robot butler might be fun.
that would be pretty cool. I can get down with that.
This robot called Sprout walks around. It has a rectangular head. It has windshield wiper-like eyebrows. It shakes hands with people with their grippers. It's nothing like the humanoids being built by Tesla. This is a fun robot. This is like the Wall-E of robots.
And I was looking it up. I was looking up Sprout, and if you love the movie Short Circuit, it looks like a new version of Johnny Five.
Johnny Five is alive.
Actually, Boy Aquarium, are you looking that up? Are you looking up what Short Circuit is?
I
oh
am
my
looking
gosh.
it up right now, and you are exactly right. It's to a T.
Yeah.
It is. It's Johnny Five. Sorry.
It is, it seems like a very friendly robot. It looked lovely.
It's adorable, and Sprout stands about 3.5 feet tall, so I've got a whole foot on Sprout there.
There you go.
And it wears a soft padded exterior of sage foam green, and it was started by this startup company, Fauna Robotics, about 2 years ago. Of secret research and development went into Sprout. Now, their public debut on earlier this week is really, the whole purpose is to jumpstart a whole new industry of building approachable robots for homes, schools, and social spaces. And in a lot of ways, this is going to be a first of its kind, especially here in the United States. We don't have a lot of rapid advancements in artificial intelligence. Elon Musk doesn't count.
No.
We don't have a lot of advancements there. So I think that this is fascinating. But Sprout isn't cheap, Brian.
No. Sprout. What? No, $50,000 for Sprout. And right now, Sprout, I don't know what Sprout does because he can't lift heavy objects.
No.
He can dance, which is cool.
Yeah.
I would-
Everybody needs a good dancing robot.
I would love to sit in the chair and just order a robot to dance like on the Emperor. Dance, Sprout. Quickly, dance. And then he'd just spin around. He'd lift up some a teddy bear. He could do that. And he could hoist himself from a chair. So that's kind of fun.
What I love is Fauna Robotics is very specific because Sprout can twist and floss. Those are the two dances that he can do. So
But he can't nay-nay. Which
He can't nay-nay.
He can't nay. He could floss, but he can't nay-nay?
That seems weird.
It seems very weird.
It
He
must
also
be-
doesn't seem like he's going to take out my garbage, which is really what I would want Sprout to do for me.
Yeah. See, that's it. If I'm going to get a robot butler, I want them to do the dishes. I want the robot to do the laundry. I want them to do the menial tasks.
The stuff I don't want to do.
Have you seen the robot lawnmowers? Where
Oh, yes, we have one in our neighborhood, and it freaks me out every time.
Oh man! Every time I see one, I'm like, I want one, but I don't want one.
It's like a Roomba for your grass.
Yes,
That's what they are.
And I've seen it in action. I'm like, that is amazing and
Are you
terrifying.
seeing the Boy Aquarium's face right now?
That's a real thing?
Yes, it's a real thing. You just let it out like your dog, except it cuts your grass.
And just like the Roombas inside, they'll go through the dog poo and track that all over the grass for you and everything else. It's fine.
I saw a video of a snowblower one too.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
That would
See
be fascinating.
Then again, I sit
Those
like
are
the
useful.
Emperor. I send Sprout out to check on the other robot lawnmower.
You sit on your deck with Sprout flossing next to you, and then you watch your lawnmower.
It's a whole tech party on my thing.
fine.
I do worry that they said they use super secret technology, which means Sprout is just the ambassador, and soon our robot overlords will take over, and then I'll be the one who has to dance and cut the grass.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's why AI actually scares me, especially when it lands in the wrong hands. It is 6:59 right now. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. From robots to nationalized elections, that's what we're going to talk about after the break here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
WMDX Columbus, Madison's real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station. WMDXradio.com.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. No sign yet of the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. Police in Arizona think she was kidnapped over the weekend. ABC's Trevor Ault is in Tucson.
Despite hundreds of tips, investigators still have no idea who took her or how many suspects could be involved.
Sheriff, is there any indication so far as to whether this was a random abduction or targeted?
We're looking at all the leads, and we don't know. We're going to assume both sides of that.
Police now have what appear to be ransom notes, including one sent to our ABC News affiliate in Tucson. No word yet on whether those notes are authentic. President Trump repeating his push that elections in the U.S. be nationalized, despite the Constitution putting elections squarely in the hands of the states. The man convicted of trying to assassinate President Trump on a golf course back in 2024 faces sentencing today. Ryan Ruth could get life. Russia and Ukraine meeting in Abu Dhabi for another round of talks. This is ABC News.
This report brought to you by Chad's Design Build. See their dedicated team of experts. Remodeling done well with love. chadsdesignbuild.com.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. You can now vote early in the spring primary. Early absentee voting began yesterday all over Wisconsin. Here in Madison, there are 3 races on the ballot for Dane County Court Commissioner and County Supervisor for Districts 12 and 15. The most accessible early voting locations are at Madison Public Libraries. And across the country, young people are in crisis. More kids report experiencing mental health struggles than ever before. Isabella Nieto reports on how more students don't feel like they belong.
The State Office of Children's Mental Health released their annual report on kids' mental health earlier this month. The report emphasizes a sense of belonging for students. From 2013 to 2023, there has been a 37% drop in Wisconsin youth feeling like they belong at their school. The rates of belonging are worse for marginalized groups. The report shows the number of students with major depressive episodes continues to increase, jumping from 16 to 18% in the last 5 years. There has also been an over 10% increase in the rate of young adults who have a mental illness. The office also reports some improvements statewide. Since 2024, there has been a slight decline in LGBTQ youth considering suicide in Wisconsin, dropping from 42 to 39%. And compared to 2020, foster care placements and teen pregnancy have decreased, and the number of adults with a college degree has increased from 31 to 35%. Wisconsin schools also have more mental health support services. The report shows schools have more nurses, social workers, counselors, and psychologists.
That's Isabella Nieto reporting. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
The Bucks' losing streak is over. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. NBA, the Bucks snap a 5-game losing streak by beating the Chicago Bulls last night, 131-115. Kyle Kuzma, who led the team scoring with 31 points, asked after the game if the trade deadline looming has any effect on the players.
I've been in trade deadlines ever since I came in the NBA, so my experience is a lot different from others. I'm going to go home after this and go to sleep, I sleep every night. I don't really think about it too much, but when you're a younger player, it's a little bit different.
The deadline this afternoon, no deals for Giannis. NFL, we're at the Super Bowl here in San Francisco. Several Packers players here, including Evan Williams. I asked him if he's spoken to the new defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, yet.
Yeah, a little bit. Not too much about scheme, but just getting to know him, getting the vibe from them. Getting on the phone with them is you want to build that first connection, really early.
That's Packers safety Evan Williams from the Super Bowl with sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
This report brought to you by Serenity Pet Spa, providing a sanctuary for dogs to be bathed, groomed, and pampered while enjoying free play with other dogs. Serenity Pet Spa, Madison.com.
It is going to be a sunny one today with a high right around 25 this afternoon. Tonight, mostly cloudy. We're going to drop to around 11 for an overnight low. Tomorrow, we start to warm things up. Mostly cloudy. We may catch a few flurries at some point with a high in the mid-30s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 2 below zero.
This is Robert Pilot, host of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we talk about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. You'll also hear from Turtle Island voices like Arvina Martin, State Representative Heather Keeler, Ruth Anna Buffalo, Dr. Anthony Stately, State Senator Mary Kunish, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
You're a storyteller, negotiator, artist, innovator. Whatever your passion, whatever your skills, behind the scenes or in front, you belong here. A career in broadcast media. Local radio and TV stations in every town and city need someone like you. So do what you love and bring your talent to life. Your passion, your skills, your career. You belong here. Learn more at youbelonghere.media.
Pete Schwaba.
On the next Nightlight, I welcome Wisconsin foodies Arthur
15 seconds.
Good morning. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. If you are in Wausau this morning, listening on WXCO, or in the Eau Claire area, listening on 93.5 The Tap, we are glad that you are able to join us. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Another chilly morning across the network, but there's hope. Next week it's going to start, even by the end of this week, it's going to be milder.
Oh, like how
So-
milder are we talking? I try not to look at these things because, well, you know,
I
it's disappointing.
Jamie, I need any thread of hope I can hang on to in these trying times. And, so I know it might get into the 20s. Upper yes, listen, on a college campus, that's shorts weather. So,
It is. Well, no, it's shorts weather in downtown Madison, too. I saw a couple people running around earlier this week. So you're believing in Puxatawny Phil and Jimmy the Groundhog. You're going
No,
all
I know
in.
it's
Oh,
I know it's going to go away. But even a couple days will be
little
nice.
reprieve. We need a little reprieve.
Just a
It's
reprieve
been
from
cold.
something. Well, the good news, if you want a reprieve, we might not have to vote anymore, so that's good. No, this is horrible, and this is something that I think, as Americans, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, we need to be making a big deal out of this. You need to be paying attention. You need to be letting your representatives know this. The president is calling on Republicans to nationalize elections and take control of voting away from the states. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie. Republicans, big states' rights folks, correct?
As far as I knew, are we
Okay.
changing that? Because I'm confused on who's supposed to be. I don't know where we align anymore. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to believe, and I don't know who's for what, and it's all messed up, and I don't know what to do with this information anymore. I really don't. It's
I know it's
it's whiplashing.
It's tough. Well, the other day when we used the term of fiscally responsible Democrats, it's nothing. We're in the upside down.
We are.
So the president is justifying this by hammering on the more than disproven claims that there is widespread voter fraud. If you still think that, you need to go back and do, as they love to say, do your own research, because voter fraud is less than 1% across this country.
Yes.
So we thought yesterday after the show, because we had mentioned that this was the president had made a comment, and we said, this if he keeps mentioning it, it's going to be a big deal. And he is mentioning it, and we see what's happening in Georgia. And don't kid yourself to think that by grabbing all these ballots from the 2020 election and bringing them in, they are going to manufacture some kind of voter fraud, despite the fact that those ballots have been counted and audited multiple times. They will come up with something that will allow them to say, see, we need a national election. And if that is not worrisome to you, that this is one more step toward perceived, and I would say actual fascism, then you need to pay attention.
What I think is also interesting is you have to watch some of the low-lying moves that this administration has made. And they've made the news, but they've been a little under the radar with some of the bigger stories. And what I'm talking about is where they keep requesting states to hand over their voter roll information.
Right.
And that is low-level moves that this administration is potentially moving towards nationalizing these elections. And for anybody who doesn't know how this all started, we've got to go back to Monday. Because the president was on former Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino's podcast. Remember when he was in the administration for a hot second?
Yeah. And then he realized they weren't going to, because they weren't going to do what they said they were going to do. And he was like, I'm not qualified for this job.
It's a bridge too far for me, and I am done. I guess the bridge too far would have been accepting the nomination when you're not qualified, but what? It's fine. So Trump actually on Bongino's podcast said that Republicans should take over the voting in at least 15 places and that elections should be nationalized. Now, in case you're wondering how this all works, and because I know some of you are very educated, brilliant people, but little reminder.
And some of us are dolts. Let's be honest.
That's why I read so much, because I don't want to be in that category.
I understand.
The U.S. Constitution actually gives states primary authority over elections, stating that the times, places, and manner of elections are set by state legislatures, with Congress allowing some limited oversight. Now, the Supreme Court has also consistently ruled that states control their own voter registration, election administrations, ballot counting, and fraud prevention, not the president. It's explicit in the Constitution and as well as the Supreme Court rulings, which is also fact and part of this equation. So when asked how elections should be nationalized, the White House provided, here's a big surprise, no specifics. Instead, they pointed to things like the SAVE Act and some other proposals which required voter ID, proof of citizenship, limits on mail voting, and bans on ballot harvesting. Trump's comments, though, on the heels of the Justice Department going into Georgia, I think is what should be most troubling. And we're even seeing it in Minneapolis, right? The lawsuits against Tim Walz and Jacob Fry and Attorney General Keith Ellison have little to do with the actual acts that are happening in Minneapolis. What they actually want, what Pam Bondi is requesting, is all of their internal paperwork. That's what she's requesting.
We'll make it all go away if you give us what we want.
Right.
Which, in layman's terms, is usually blackmail.
Yes.
But that's just layman's terms. That is no indictment on the administration. Wink, nudge, say no more.
So through all of these comments, Trump has been referencing this particular Georgia investigation, again claiming without any evidence, which has all been debunked, by the way, and proven in court. It's all been proven in court that states he won were falsely reported as losses, and now he's also alleging corruption in vote counting. Now, these are as you stated, this has been this is like the Chatty Cathy doll where you pull the string and the same comments keep coming out of his mouth, right? Because we've been hearing these since 2020. And 6 years later, Mr. President.
And it doesn't matter how many times his claims are proven false. It just doesn't it doesn't get through his thick skull, or they I think it's that they just choose not to believe it because they have enough people who will buy into it.
Right.
Which it's becoming more and more frustrating every day. It's more and more frustrating to watch Congress and think to myself, where is the breaking point? Right. Because if you're a Republican elected official right now and you think this is a good idea, one day you might not be in power.
Right.
And even if you are going to stay in power, even if your party is going to win, let it win the right way. Yeah. Let it lose the right way. Go with the will of the people, which is what you are supposed to be serving, and you're not. And I don't understand. How many times have we pushed the goalpost back to say this is the point? This has to be the point. This has to be the point. And I think if this was in any other sort of business, man, this stuff wouldn't stand. We couldn't get away with that here. Wherever you work, you couldn't get away with telling lies to your boss nonstop. And let's remember, we are their bosses. We don't act like it anymore. We don't think like it anymore, but they do answer to us. Both sides answer to us. I don't care what administration is in there. We are their boss, and you don't have to like your boss. They don't have to respect us, but they do answer to us, and we've forgotten that, and we've allowed this administration to take on the role of all-knowing and all-powerful, and they are not.
And once you take elections away from the people and hand that specifically to the politicians, both sides, right? You're no longer protecting democracy at that point. You're not living by the Constitution, because I know that there's a lot of Republicans out there that want to hang their hat on the Constitution, Democrats as well, independents. When you're taking power away from the people, you are simply centralizing that power and you're managing it. And that is a road that we should not go down in this country. The Constitution was designed to protect from exactly doing that, because the forefathers came from a country where that was happening. And They wrote our Constitution specifically to allow that, to not allow that to happen. And all you're essentially doing is centralizing that power. And that is dangerous. It's dangerous when that happens.
And I blame us. I blame the citizens. Why are we not getting out to vote? We look at other countries and people wait hours and hours and hours to vote. And we say, boy, look at that. That's great. And then here we get very low voter turnout. We look at other countries where they have these sham elections, just like I think would be coming if our elections were nationalized, just like these other countries. And we, both Republicans and Democrats, look at those elections and say, that's not right. They're not listening to the people, blah, blah, blah. How dense are we as a citizenry, and how lazy that we will not get out to vote? And I don't care if you think, well, all politicians are crooked, or I don't have a politician that matches my personal needs 100%. If we're
just
gonna
hit a nerve for me.
We're gonna miss it when it's gone, folks. And I'm not, I don't think I'm being hyperbolic. We are going to miss it when it's gone, and you're going to go, remember that time I didn't vote because, a candidate laughed too weird for me, so I just stayed home.
Here's the thing that bothers me about that particular argument, and this is my little soapbox moment. The candidates are not your best friend.
No.
You are not going to coffee with these people. You are not vacationing with these people, lunching with these people, having phone chats with these people. You are not doing any of those things. Our job as voters is to pick the person who is going to uphold the values of the Constitution and do what is best for everybody in this country.
Everybody
In this country. It is not our job to have a popularity contest. It is not our job to decide if this is the person I want to have lunch with every day, because that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. So vote for the person who can do the job the best. That's the goal every election.
But that's why we're in the predicament we're in. The administration was able to con enough people to believe that they had that this administration would have their best interests at heart. And people believed it, and they bought into this illusion, and it tapped into feelings that they may have been ashamed of before. And now it's okay to have those feelings. And look, there's a lot of people who have those feelings, so I must not be wrong. And it didn't matter if people were qualified for the job. All it mattered was, they think like I do.
Right. Yeah.
And I voted for a lot of people who don't think like I do, but it's like I think they can get it done.
I grew up in South Dakota. My first elections were voting for people that I had to just choose were going to do the best job based on who I had to choose from, because I wasn't going to miss out on voting either. Yes, I kept all my stickers since the very first vote, but that's
Put it
a
on the
conversation for another day. I do want to remind everybody, too, thank you. I do want to remind everybody, too, that right now Brian Stile is helping advance a bill called the MEGA Act, which would actually restrict voting by banning universal mail voting and also ranked choice voting, which has become another discussion in the state over the past few months. Federal courts have already blocked part of the president's March 2025 executive order that attempted to impose new federal election rules, including proof of citizenship requirements. And a federal judge ruled that the Constitution, boy, that pesky little word, assigns election authority to states and Congress. In other words, not the president of the United States. It
seems so easy, Jamie. It seems
it's
so
there in
easy.
black and white. It's there in black and white.
Reading is not fundamental anymore.
It's not. It's 7:19 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network.
MDX Madison, where conversations are free-range and organic.
Tax season is here. Ramos Tax and Services has been saving you money for over 25 years. Locally owned, open year-round. Get $20 off business and $10 off personal returns. 608-442-8170 or visit 658 South Gammon Road.
Pete Schwaba.
Heinz ketchup has to be stopped. They have the keg chup now for Super Bowl parties that they're pushing. The 114 ounces or something like that. And then they had remember, it was the ketchup smoothie, Conrad. Oh. They had the horrible ketchup smoothie. And then they've also got ketchup smoothie. Oh, ranch ketchup. Enough ranch. We can be done with ranch. It's a fine product, but it's gotten into everything. There are people dipping ranch in ranch, and it's wrong.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 5 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I'm Rick Smith, host of The Rick Smith Show. If you're looking for honest talk, real stories, and straight-up news that matters to you, tune in to The Rick Smith Show. We're digging into the issues that affect your job, your family, your future. Join me weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network, because your voice deserves to be heard. That's The Rick Smith Show, heard weeknights at 9 right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Let's talk rechargeable battery safety with tips from the National Fire Protection Association. Only buy products with a safety certification mark. Charge devices on hard surfaces. Don't use off-brand cords and always unplug when fully charged. Charge into fire safety at fpw.org/battery.
Your neighbors are talking. Leaders are deciding. Madison's story unfolds daily.
10 seconds.
It's 7:22 right now. A chilly but nice start to the day. Dare I say that? It's clear. The sun's starting to come up in Madison, so we'll take what we can get.
Isn't it still 2 below zero?
Well, I'm inside, so I'm not walking around like the bundled up people outside.
You're like my
place.
dog. You see the sun and you think, oh, it's nice outside. I want to go outside all day.
In Wisconsin, it's hard this time of year. You don't always see the sun some days.
I know. Listen, I'm the same. It's like, ooh, let's open all the blinds, get the place nice and bright, and then the other dog goes and lays in the sun like he's in Saint-Tropez, just like just
until
basking.
He has to go outside.
Yeah,
and he's like, no, bring me in.
No,
right
he's
away.
the smart one. He knows he sunbathes in the house. The other one wants to go out. Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
Well, after just a short time, the government is reopened, which we can say is a good news. But I think the biggest news in this and the better part of this is that there was a compromise reached that pulled out the DHS funding for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. But either way, the House did pass a roughly $1.2 trillion spending package that ended the partial government shutdown yesterday afternoon. It was cleared by a bipartisan vote, and this is pretty good news. So funding for the Pentagon, Education, Treasury, Labor, and State Departments are all funded through the end of the fiscal year. And as I said, 2 weeks, Jamie, before DHS. So now we get to see inertia set into the Congress again as they try to figure something out. But this is good news. Let's be happy for something.
Of course. And what I find interesting about this, and it always is a little shocking when I actually see the voting numbers, because as much as we talk about the majority of the GOP shrinking, when you see the actual numbers,
Yes.
you realize how tight it is getting for Mike Johnson. 217 to 214
Right.
is what this bill passed by. So, yeah, he doesn't have a lot of room for error. So I don't know if he wants to upset any of his caucus members. Now, DHS, as you mentioned, will get that 2-week extension. That will keep the department funded only through next week. And if lawmakers can't reach a deal by February 13th, get caucusing, Mike, because you don't have much time here. DHS would actually shut down, which would also, and while you're thinking, oh, good, DHS shuts down, this is not good because remember, DHS also runs other departments, and that would impact TSA, the Coast Guard, Customs and Border Protection, the Secret Service, and also FEMA in case, by the way, there's any natural disasters, because we need that happening right now in this country. So Immigration and Customs Enforcement, however, would continue operating after receiving $75 billion, as we've mentioned on this very program, in separate funding under the previously passed big, beautiful bill. So don't you worry. You won't be able to fly and you'll be standing in lines for 3 or 4 hours, but ICE will be able to roam the streets of Minneapolis or whatever town they decide to come to next.
Which then is all, again, part of, and man, me becoming a conspiracy theorist, even slightly, was never on my bingo card. I never thought, but then you look at it and you go, all right, let's play this out. And we play it out like we have with a lot of things with this administration, where you say, all right, this is great. We partially fund it. DHS will do it in 2 weeks. The main problem isn't with DHS. The problem is with ICE. Well, ICE is still going to be operating. So you hit the nail on the head, Jamie. God forbid there's a natural disaster. TSA shutting down. Now travel is impacted. Oh, man, you know what's coming up? Spring break is coming up. People don't want to be standing in line for hours and hours or not being able to fly because TSA is shut down. So people are getting mad. And then they say, look, we didn't want this to happen. We tried to have it funded back then. Who stopped it? The Democrats stopped it.
Right.
So the Democrats are causing you to not take your kids to Disney for spring break. All you college seniors who are going to fly down and do horrible things to each other for a week in Fort Lauderdale. Is that even still a place that people go? Probably not. I went to Padre Island and we did horrible things. So, but it's, oh, yo, Jamie. Yes. But like, so, boy, now you got me thinking about debauchery, and I've lost my train of thought. I'm like, ooh, yes, that would be fun. No, my train of thought is it all kind of plays along. So this 2 weeks, we've heard 2 weeks for everything. It's not, Mike Johnson is not going to caucus hard.
No.
It's not going to be done in 2 weeks, and they're going to use it as another excuse to pin any sort of government problems on the Democrats.
Absolutely. And what I appreciate about this bill passing right now is the shutdown was relatively short, just coming off of the longest one in history. People are back at work who were impacted, and critical programs are opening again. And all of that very much matters. So at this particular point, we'll give a win where it's deserved, right?
Exactly.
Because this needed to happen. This fight, though, with immigration and DHS is very much unresolved. And what I really am looking to see now is whether the same level of Republican outrage holds once these headlines start to fade a little bit, because obviously we're a few weeks removed from Alex Preddy's death. We're a few weeks removed from Renee Good's death. And Republicans were some Republicans, I won't give them all credit, some of them were becoming just as outraged as the Democrats about what they were seeing. But those headlines fade and things start to change, and there's other stories about nationalizing elections. So does that give them some cover, right? Because now that those headlines are changing and we're in this 2-week period, the government's back open, does that outrage, was it real? Was it feigning? Or was it just for that moment in time because we're in the middle of a midterm election? That's where my mind goes with all of this.
Good question. I think with something like this, ICE is going to, unfortunately, they're going to keep screwing up.
Yes.
ICE will not leave the headlines. And I don't think people's outrage is going to diminish. So I think the pressure will stay on these Republicans who have been wavering a little bit. That's my hope anyway,
Right.
because ICE is going to go into another city. They haven't pulled back at all in Minnesota.
Right.
There's reports of another gun being drawn by an ICE agent in the news yesterday. There's the pepper spraying and all of that. So I don't think that story is going to go away. The headline on it will change, but the story itself will be there, and the pressure on politicians is going to remain.
Hopefully their backbone doesn't fade like Mike Johnson's. That's what I'm saying.
That would be
7:29
nice.
right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network.
MDX All Talk. No assembly required.
This report brought to you by Downdren's Distilling, a destination craft distillery focused on creating unique spirits. Online at downdrens.com or visit the tasting room in Cottage Grove.
Are you getting ready for the big game this weekend, the Super Bowl? Well, guess what? The U.S. poultry industry is already prepared. I'm PM Yankee. Now, from the Rural Mutual Insurance Farm News Desk, here's what's happening on a Wednesday. Tom Super is the Senior Vice President of Communications with the National Chicken Council. If you take a look at your menu, it may include some part of a chicken. And he said they're ready for it and expect this year to be another record breaker when it comes to wings.
Most people don't think about how many wings is 1.48 billion. So I can put that into perspective. If you laid them end to end, they would stretch from Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, home of the Patriots, all the way across the country to Lumen Field in Seattle, home of the Seahawks, 27 times. And that is enough to circle the circumference of the earth about 3 times, like a crispy equator. Or in terms of time, if you ate one wing every 30 seconds, you would finish right around the year 3430, or that's one wing every 30 seconds since the fall of the Roman Empire.
Wow, there's some numbers. Tom Super, Senior Vice President of Communications with the National Chicken Council. They expect 1.48 billion wings to be consumed Super Bowl Sunday. It's not the only time that consumers are turning to poultry, he said. Right now, because of new dietary guidelines that favor protein, chicken consumption is hitting a record 104 pounds per person this year.
Before it's too late and white mold becomes a problem, you need to ask your seed dealer for Heads Up seed treatment. When raising soybeans in the Midwest, you know the risk of being caught unprepared. As heard on Ag PhD, there are several steps you can take prior to planting for a successful management plan against white mold. Compatible and cost-effective season-long protection starts now by asking your seed dealer to apply Heads Up to your bean seed order. For more information, visit headsupst.com.
Did you know you can leverage crop insurance to benefit your bottom line? Ag Country Farm Credit Services can help. Choosing the right coverage for your goals can help maximize margins, strengthen your marketing strategy, and build a more resilient operation overall. As you plan for the season ahead, focus on more than just managing risk. Call 800-450-9858 to speak with one of our dedicated crop insurance officers. This institution is an equal opportunity provider and employer.
And one of North America's largest organic farming conferences headed to La Crosse, the 37th annual Marble Seed Organic Farming Conference with the theme Abundance Grows in Solidarity, coming February 26th through the 28th. Agribusiness Update brought to you by Rural Mutual Insurance, Wisconsin only and Wisconsin strong. Find your local agent at ruralmutual.com. I'm PM Yankee.
This report brought to you by Sugar River Pizza. Skip cooking. Get the hot, handcrafted pizza consistently rated Best of Madison, delivered straight to your door. SugarRiverPizza.com.
It is going to be a sunny one today with a high right around 25 this afternoon. Tonight, mostly cloudy. We're going to drop to around 11 for an overnight low. Tomorrow, we start to warm things up. Mostly cloudy. We may catch a few flurries at some point with a high in the mid-30s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 2 below zero.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving care is made possible by a global movement of supporters like you. Thank you.
This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we share stories from Turtle Island highlighting the people and issues shaping our communities. From protecting water to treaty rights and preserving languages and traditions, we cover it all. Hear voices like Arena Martin of Emerge, Wisconsin, Dr. Stately, Robert Lilligren, and more. Because Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
Finding support for my
15 seconds.
It's 7:35 right now. Thank you for joining us this morning. Listening in Madison on WMDX or maybe in the La Crosse area on WLCX. We are glad that you are able to join us. Civic Media Mornings, Civic Media Radio Network. I actually can't remember what I said, but my name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'll remember, my name is Brian Noonan. It is Civic Media Mornings. That's the name of the show. For now, maybe we change it someday down the road, something a little catchier. But we are on the Civic Media Radio Network. That's not going to change. So there you go. Always interesting politics here in Wisconsin. That's an understatement, of course. But coming up, of course, we've got the Supreme Court elections in April. We've got the general election in November. And part of that general election is going to have a few constitutional amendments, ladies and gentlemen, that you get to shape the state. More than just electing a person. You get to shape the state for years and years to come. So there's a couple of amendments on the ballot that you're going to be asked to vote on, and they're kind of. At first blush, I was like, "Why do we?" And I remember when they first started debating these, and I'm like, "Why do we really? Do you really need a constitutional amendment for this?"
Right.
But I guess we do, and that's cool, and you're going to get a chance to vote. And so there's also a third one that's possible, but let's talk about the first couple. Jamie, the first one is an amendment to allow worship during public emergencies. And again, I always have to say, read past the headline, because you go, when did we stop letting people worship during... So what is this one all about?
Well, with this particular, this constitutional amendment, it would enshrine the ability to gather in places of worship, even during a state of emergency. And this is a measure that actually arose after Governor Tony Evers prohibited gatherings larger than 10 people inside churches during the COVID pandemic. And lawmakers are saying that it was needed to uphold the ability of people to go to places of worship when times are hard, as they were during the pandemic. And the Assembly ultimately voted along party lines to pass this particular bill. Senate Republicans passed the measure largely along party lines with very little discussion. Not that that should surprise anybody either, on January 21st. So...
I don't begrudge anyone their faith.
No.
I don't begrudge anyone their right to worship. That's part of the Constitution too. You have freedom of religion. The government can't tell you who to pray to, what to believe, any of that. I think there needs to be a line when public health is threatened. We saw the millions of people who died from COVID. This was not and I'm not going to debate with you whether it was created in a lab or if we should wear masks or blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. But I know it doesn't matter. But does that ever stop people from bringing it up?
No, very true.
So let's get that out of the way. I think with schools, did it do some harm? Yes, there was harm done.
Mm-hmm.
But for some, a small percentage of kids, it was actually better.
Yes.
But as far as worship, and this is a personal belief, I think you can be just as spiritual in a quiet moment in your house as you can going to church. And if public health prohibits you from going to a building and meeting in a crowded room, I don't mean this as blasphemous, but take it the way you will. I don't think your God wants everybody getting sick and dying. I don't care. I don't care what religion you follow, unless there's a religion I don't know about where God is a vengeful and hateful God and wants to strike people down with sickness.
And here's what I'm going to say. Everybody practices the religion a little bit differently, right? And I know some very, very religious people, very spiritual, with a lot of faith, who very rarely attend churches. But their religion and their faith is very important to them. And so I think it's a private. I think how you do it has to be held in private. And I think that if you have that true belief, it doesn't matter if you're in church or not.
Exactly.
And who wants to get sick in that instance, right? If that's what it comes down to, if that's what it truly comes down to. But
I don't know, but somebody who had a hand in crafting this amendment who can help us is Wisconsin State Senator LaTanya Johnson. She joins us now to talk about this amendment and the other potential amendment to the Constitution that will be on the ballot November 3rd. Senator, thank you for being here. We appreciate your time today. We were just talking about this proposed amendment that would allow worship during public emergencies, and we're kind of confused as to why this became a thing. We know when it started, but what's going on with this?
It basically became a thing during the lockdown, during COVID. And the reason for that was the spread of COVID. We knew that having services in closed door settings helped to spread that disease, especially in things like worship service when you sing or when you communicate close to one another. We wanted to make sure that the disease didn't spread and cause harm to so many more people than we saw already here in Wisconsin.
is this the type of law that in cases of COVID or public safety, is this the type of law that could really limit a future governor's ability to respond in a crisis if it's passed and voted on?
Yes, it could. That's exactly the purpose for this bill, is to make sure that regardless of who's in office, that they do not get the opportunity to install another law like the one that we just saw to prevent that close contact. And that's extremely dangerous, especially when it comes to public safety. Our job is to make sure that everyone is safe and protected. And, you know, that law during COVID, it went a long way to ensure that.
Well, Senator Johnson, the Republicans who voted for this make it seem like they're doing it just to protect people's right to worship, which people's right to worship was not under attack prior to this. What do you think, in your opinion, are the real underlying reasons for the Republicans backing this play?
I think it all had everything to do with the shutdown. They don't want to see government tell them what to do. They wanted to be able to have worship or do whatever they wanted to do during a national crisis. And that was just not something that Governor Evers or the Democrats were willing to allow to happen. We know that this state, as well as around the country, lost so many good people during COVID. And we lost those people due to no fault of their own. A lot of them had pre-existing conditions. And the spread of COVID helped accelerate that. So we wanted to make sure that everyone, regardless of where they were, had the opportunity to maintain safety. And that unfortunately resulted in us having to isolate in order to get that done.
We're talking with Senator LaTanya Johnson. She is a represents State Senate District number 6. She's also the ranking member on the Joint Committee on Finance. One of the other amendments that we're looking at is this amendment aimed at preventing preferential treatment. And supporters of this amendment say that it's about ending discrimination and restoring merit-based systems. How does this particular proposal, Senator, intersect with some of the real economic inequalities, though, that we see in Wisconsin? And could banning that type of language affect any longstanding programs that we have currently in this state?
It most definitely could, because we know that there are disparities all across the state. And I'm sorry if you hear a squeaking in the background.
It's adorable.
I have 4 dogs.
Oh my gosh.
I was just praying that they didn't bark. I didn't think about their squeaky toy.
No, it's great.
It's great. I love it.
Because to be honest, Senator, I'm praying my dogs don't start barking as well. So
Oh yeah, I have a cat that's behind this computer that's been trying to make his cameo appearance ever since I got on.
We love that. We love
yes,
cats here.
no worries.
What we know is that Wisconsin is full of disparities, especially for minorities. And so this bill is detrimental to making those disparities even greater. So we know that Wisconsin's population is 81.32% white. And when you talk about public education and access to public loans and job opportunities, we know that minorities are at a significant disadvantage for no other reason other than the population size of our white counterparts. So when you look at things like, for example, Marquette School of Dentistry, their dental graduates, 68.8% white, 31.2% minority. When you look at things like UW-Madison's entrance admission, you're looking at 57.3% white, 42.7% minority. Now imagine what those numbers would look like if we didn't currently have programs that specifically target minorities to try and bridge that gap. Those disparities would be even larger. We see disparities among minorities in health, in education, in poverty, and in housing security. So, and these are things that haven't yet been fixed, that have the potential to grow even larger simply because of the laws that we are implementing.
And do you believe, Senator, that it's one of those things where people are willing to vote against programs, not realizing that some of these programs down the line they may actually need, or that those programs, while you may not be eligible for them, they do benefit the state as a whole?
They do, because what people don't understand is diversity, equity, and inclusion is more than just about race or male or female. It's about providing a level of equity or equality and including all individuals and entities. We have counties around the state that have benefited from that program simply because of their poverty, or simply because of their smaller populations that allow them to apply for and receive additional services. And so when we talk about ridding our state of these very essential programs, a lot of the authors don't think about programs like that or how it can benefit their communities. And the reality is, rather than trying to ban these programs, we need to be trying to find fixes to eliminate the need for these programs. And we haven't gotten there yet.
Senator, I'm going to switch gears here with just a couple of minutes left, because I know that you have had many conversations over the years about Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake and the oversight there. And the federal court recently ended the oversight for both of those facilities. How significant is this milestone, given that the state was only in compliance with only one of the 50 reforms at one point in time when Evers took office? What safeguards should be in place as we move forward to monitor these two facilities?
So one of the obstacles that eliminating this will be an advantage to taxpayers is that it cost us $25 million to comply with those stipulations and in terms of settlements. I think the Evers administration they deserve a huge bow, because when they took over, Lincoln Hills was under a court decree because the conditions were so horrible. You had kids who lost toes, security officers that were attacked and hurt.
Senator, we're going to have to jump in because we are up upon the break, and I wish we had more time, and we'd love to bring you back at some point to talk more about Lincoln Hills. But 7:48 right now. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it today. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network.
right. Thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
No, thank you. And I am so sorry that I was late signing on.
No. You are fine. And you know what? We would love to have the conversation on the two facilities, Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake again. And so I can reach out to Jacob because I'd like to get more of your thoughts because we were just up on the break there. But I would love to be able to give you some more time to talk a little bit more in depth about that if you're interested.
I would love to do that
Okay,
because
perfect.
Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake, they're not set to close until 2029.
Okay.
And
Perfect.
yeah, and the cost is astronomical. So
I will reach out to Jacob and we'll find a time for you to come back in the next couple of weeks perhaps, and we can kind of dive into that a little bit more if that works for you.
that works. And thank you again. And again, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Okay. Don't
Give those dogs some belly rubs for us.
That's right.
I will do that.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Sorry, I messed up my words there. All of a sudden, I was like, Lincoln Hills, Copper. Like, what? What are those words?
I was like, oh, did Jamie pass? Something happened. I think boys run in. I think Jamie might have had a stroke.
I was like, no, because I was like, it's Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake, and I was trying to not say Lincoln Lake and Copper Hills and not get them confused, and it was coming out of my brain wrong. And I was like, if I say these words right now, it's going to come out wrong, and I have to stop myself. It was a thing. It was going through my head. It was bad.
Can't have things going through our heads.
Oh my gosh. Like not the wrong things in the wrong order.
Right.
Because they're too important. But Frank and I can work with her team and bring her back because I think that's a much longer
Yeah, that'd
discussion.
be. And, she was late. What are you going to do? She came on.
She was great,
so
though.
she got on, yeah. And we had already laid out what the first one was about, so it was an easy jump.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. So the
dogs were hilarious.
I'm glad she brought it up because I was going to go, oh, what kind of dogs do you have? But then I'm like, what if it's a kid? What if it's a baby? And I was like, I don't want to.
We'll thank her again and reintroduce who
Yes.
she is when we come
Yes.
back into this
Yes.
final segment. And because then I saw the rap and I was like, I can't get these words out.
I know. I was like, you're not going to be able to say her name. I'm like, yeah.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And I'll mention the fact that my brain went blank.
We'll do
there
it
for a second.
live. Do it live.
He fights through it. He finds a way. Freedom isn't free. Rolling strong. Belief. Believe you can and you will.
Wheelchairs for Warriors provides mobility solutions to veterans and first responders injured in the line of duty. Join the mission and visit wheelchairsforwarriors.org.
92.7 WMDX, Madison's real news and great conversation. And home for Nightlight with Pete Schwab.
Yes.
Here we go.
7:52 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. And Brian, I have to quickly, before I toss it over to you, apologize to the senator. The Senator LaTanya Johnson was our guest last segment. She is the senator from District 6. The brain.
You want? I think this may be a sentence you need to sit out, Jamie. Senator LaToya Johnson represents District 6 in the Wisconsin State Senate. Was that what you were wanting to get to?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a moment in that last segment, if you were listening, where we ended the conversation because we were up on the break talking about Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake. And my brain kept trying to inverse them, and I was trying to stop it in real time, and it just became a problem. But we appreciate so much that the senator gave some time to us this morning. And we had some people over on the text line chiming in as well on some of the conversation we had with the senator. Before we get to our next topic, we'll kind of hit these quickly. Terry from Cross Plains, listening on WMDX, says, while he doesn't agree with it, the amendment could prove to be beneficial if the president declares a state of emergency during an election, of course, referring to the amendment to allow worship during public emergencies. Terry goes on on to say that there are polling places inside churches and people would be able to go to the local church to vote. Tom in Hartford wondering if there's a vote on February 17th. Tom in Hartford, I love my research. I'll do some digging. And then Mark also says since measles is an airborne disease, churches could be an ideal vector for spreading it, with measles now popping up all over, which is a very good point. We do
And
have
Gary
a
and
few cases.
Madison, yes, sorry, Gary and Madison, most any referendums proposed by Republicans are politically motivated and should be rejected. I think we can pretty much say that any referendum put forth by any politician is politically motivated. But Gary, in Madison, we do appreciate your text. Jamie, have you heard the term peel your wig back? Dom, I know you have.
But I have now.
I have not.
You have not heard peel your wig back? And that's yo with a Y-O. Don't tell me I am the most street on this show, but I am. We all know it. We all know it. Peel your wig back is a slang term, kids, that usually refers to an action of violence or aggression, typically used in the context of physical assault. It implies a forceful and violent act that would cause someone's hairpiece or wig to come off of their head. It is often used in situations where someone is seeking revenge or retribution for a perceived wrongdoing, and then you get your wig peeled back. Well, it came to life in a boxing ring when Jarrell Big Baby Miller just showed everybody what getting his wig knocked back actually looked like. Jamie, I love this story, and I can't believe it happened the other day. We didn't talk about it yesterday, and I played the diva and said, we must.
And,
I peeled all your wigs back when I said
this.
it was time to do this story.
So I guess this leads to the question as we talk about it. What's your most embarrassing moment that you've ever experienced? Like, do I really have to just pick one? Is there? I don't think we have enough time for me to go through all of my embarrassing moments. But if you'd like to chime in this morning, if you'd like to chime in, 1-855-752-4842. That's 1-855-75-CIVIC. You can tell us your most embarrassing moment. I think the last 5 minutes of trying to talk with Senator LaTanya Johnson ranks right up there for me.
If we were going with your most current embarrassing moment, I would say yes. I actually worried about you. I thought you had like an aneurysm.
We almost had to go into the room and
the boyquarium did not move at all.
No, they didn't.
They were just like, No, it's like when you're watching a movie with a psycho killer and they just tilted their head and looked at you like,
It was fine. It was fine. She's fine. If she falls off the chair, then we have a problem. Brian, go. That was essentially what that was.
Yeah, that's how it works.
But this story about Big Baby
Big Baby.
Miller. Yeah.
Put some respect on his name.
Okay, all right. So he squared off against. I'm not a boxing fan, so folks. So I apologize. Kingsley Ibia at Madison Square Garden in New York City. This was on January 31st. The video of this is just bonkers.
It's hilarious.
Midway through the second round of what was actually a pretty dull fight between two men with a combined weight of 604 pounds.
Yeah, this was more sumo than boxing, and both these guys are way past their prime.
Yeah, it was something. Miller took a shot to the head, and his hair literally lifted off his head. He used his gloves to pull his hair back down, and then he took a short right, and he essentially exposed what the world was hiding. It was, in fact, a toupee there on the top of his dome. But
imagine opening a soup can and leaving the lid on, and it just flipped back. Or that scene in Tommy Boy. Did you ever see Tommy Boy Boyquarium?
No, I've not. No.
All right.
I haven't seen
my references are lost on these children.
Frank is way better for that.
There's a scene where I'm going to spoil it. It's a 25-year-old movie. David Spade's hair flips back like this. It's almost like that picture of the president when his hair blew completely off.
Well, sometimes that happens. I get it's windy. It happens.
Does it? Only if you're doing weird comb-overs or wearing a toupee. So yeah, and then he threw the toupee out into the crowd. People, of course, made memes out of it. It's hilarious. The announcers went crazy. They're like, "What's going on with his hair? Is Miller losing his hair?" I've seen a lot in boxing, but I've never seen anything like this. I've heard about guys taking their hats off to show respect, but Miller has taken his hair off.
What was the best is if you watch the video, like the tape and the glue is still stuck to his head, though, that was keeping the toupee.
It's so weird. And the thing that's lost in all of it, he still won the fight.
He still won the fight. Yes,
by a split decision. Well, yeah, it's two fat old men slugging it out, and one's hair flies off.
It was like when Mike Tyson got back in the ring there for about 5 seconds a few months ago.
How do you think that's a good idea to wear your toque into the ring?
I don't know. There was a news anchor back in South Dakota. He was completely bald. He went on about a 4-week vacation, came back with a full head of hair.
Oh.
Now you tell me how that happens.
I love those guys. I also love the guys who are gray, and then the next day their hair is dark like a Superman comic.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, is that navy blue or black on your hair?
Nobody will notice these small changes to appearance. Not at all. If you come tomorrow with a full head of hair,
I'm going to come with a big fro. I'm just going to have my headphones sitting on top of this
We're not
monster
ignoring
hair.
it. It's 7:59 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Thanks for being part of the program. Thanks again to Senator LaTanya Johnson. And thanks to our other guest, Seth Stern. And thanks mostly to you for listening and being part of the program. We will talk to you again tomorrow on the Civic Media Radio Network.
All right, Civic Media Mornings. That has been Civic Media Mornings. We will see you all tomorrow morning.